Under a blood-red moon, a grim reaper's silhouette signals the start of another terrifying assault. A group of soldiers, trembling with fear, steel themselves for the inevitable battle against the encroaching darkness. A hooded figure, claiming to be an agent of divine judgment, prepares to unleash his power upon a monstrous beast. The judge reveals his true form, a skeletal being commanding a legion of horrors to punish the sinful. A system window details his terrifying skill, the power to mentally control and strengthen an army of monsters. Riding a giant wolf, the skeletal commander unleashes his monstrous puppets upon the battlefield. His hellish menagerie, a dragon, a griffin, and a wolf, charges forward to drag their victims to their doom. The soldiers break down in terror, convinced they're facing an unbeatable monster and their certain death. As the army flees in chaos, a lone warrior in ornate armor watches the pandemonium from behind. Refusing to back down, this final bastion of hope ignites his sword with holy light, preparing to make a last stand. Inspired by the lone warrior, a rookie soldier rallies the fleeing men to turn and fight. The skeletal commander watches with malevolent glee as his dark power tears through the charging soldiers. He declares that no one has the right to judge humanity, vowing to end this twisted crusade himself. He channels all his life force into his blade, preparing to sacrifice everything for the glory of humanity. His men watch in horror, recognizing the forbidden sacrificial magic he's about to unleash. He unleashes a blinding explosion, determined to take the colossal dragon down with him. The sacred light engulfs the beast, a final desperate prayer for humanity's survival. The skeletal judge scoffs at the sacrifice, deeming it a crude and ultimately futile gesture, but his smug certainty vanishes as he senses something completely unexpected. The commander's sacrifice wasn't in vain. It has ignited the fighting spirit of his entire army, who now charge with renewed fury. The commander's sacrifice shatters the very fabric of the skeletal judge's reality. In a blinding flash, the entire illusion of the battlefield implodes upon itself. A young man with silver hair grits his teeth, his face contorted with pure rage. He seethes at his enemies for using such a crude method to break his mental world. Snapping back to his delusion, he commands his imaginary followers to attack. The scene abruptly shifts to a grimy alley, where he and a small dog face 3 thugs. The thugs mock him, laughing at his strange behavior and his tiny canine companion. Reality delivers a harsh lesson as the thugs easily overpower the delusional man and his pup. Coming to his senses on the ground, he wonders where his powerful army and hellhound vanished to. As he stumbles to his feet, the pathetic truth of his situation finally begins to dawn on him. His eyes snap open with a sudden, sharp realization. Lying on the ground, he looks up at the figure standing over him, a flicker of confusion in his eyes. The newcomer recognizes him instantly, the foolish rookie who made the ultimate sacrifice in the illusion. A citywide broadcast jolts his memory, announcing the end of a game's beta and the start of a real-world invasion. Standing amidst the neon chaos, he connects the dots, suspecting he's been given a second chance. He brushes himself off, cursing his enemy's crude tactics before wryly admitting his own current pathetic state. Scooping up his bewildered pup, a confident smirk returns, dismissing his temporary weakness as a minor setback. His mind flashes back 7 years, to the day a virtual game catastrophically merged with reality, unleashing monsters upon the world. This catastrophe birthed the Awakened, who formed guilds and delved into dungeons, quickly becoming lost in the thrill of the hunt. But while others play by the rules in teams, he forges his own path, finding power in a far more solitary and brutal game. He remembers his past life, where he tamed countless beasts and became the game's most powerful boss. Armed with 7 years of future knowledge, he smirks, ready to school these rookies all over again. He bites his thumb, drawing blood to activate the very first step of his master plan. A single drop is offered to the dog, certain his unique blood talent for taming will be more than enough. He grins with manic delight, savoring the moment he reclaims his long-lost power. With a surge of dark energy, he commands the pup to drink his blood and become his first pawn. The plan immediately backfires as the dog, instead of transforming, spews a magical rainbow. A system window appears, informing him that his true love's protection has been awakened. He's suddenly bound by pink, heart-shaped energy, completely baffled by this new, unheard-of system. The stray dog officially becomes his companion, affectionately tackling him and sealing their strange new bond. He internally despairs, lamenting that he wanted a colossal monster, not this tiny, affectionate pup. His mind flashes back to his past life, where he was deeply engrossed in researching the game's dungeon mechanics. He recalls a critical piece of information, a future dungeon that holds the power to swap identities. His former, powerful self is shown leaping across the neon-drenched city, a dark figure on a mission. He remembers the moment he first established a mental link with a powerful dungeon guardian. A sinister grin forms as he realizes he can find his original body and use a similar method to switch back. With a confident snap of his fingers, he finalizes his plan to escape this weak body and resume his path to power. He triumphantly lifts the confused puppy, boasting about his villainous genius while attempting to search for his old ID. The system delivers a stunning blow, reporting that no player with his former name can be found. The devastating truth hits him. His mighty Demon Lord account has been completely overwritten by this new, feeble rookie ID. He furiously accuses the system of being trash, unable to accept his legendary ID is gone. The system retorts that the world has changed, informing him his old identity has been completely erased. Seething with rage, he clenches his fist, refusing to accept this new powerless reality. But his anger is cut short by a sudden, game-changing realization. A sinister smirk spreads across his face as he finally connects his new body to a familiar face. He discovers he's now a rookie in the guild of the very man who caused his downfall. This new information sparks a devious plan to use his weak identity to infiltrate his enemy's ranks. He looks down on a memory of his rival, vowing to settle both old and new scores. In his mind, he already sees himself seizing control of the guild and making his enemy's followers his own. Reality bites back as he arrives at a shabby apartment, disgusted by his new identity's pathetic living conditions. He surveys the grimy alley leading to his new home, a place far below his former standards. The overwhelming stench of the place forces him to cover his face in disgust. With his new pup in tow, he strides through the filth, kicking a can out of his way in frustration. Suddenly, his senses sharpen as he detects a wave of murderous intent directed his way. He spots the same 3 thugs from earlier, now armed and clearly hunting for him. Realizing they're targeting his new identity, he scoffs, too preoccupied with his grander plans to deal with them himself. Deciding to test his new companion, he pats the pup on the head and gives it a simple mission. He unceremoniously tosses the confused dog down the corridor as a perfect distraction. The tiny pup bolts, its paws scrambling against the pavement as the thugs give chase. The thugs are shocked and frustrated as the surprisingly fast pup leads them on a wild chase. With the thugs occupied, he effortlessly slips past them and into the building. He gives a silent, contemptuous scoff at their pathetic attempt to corner him. Inside his new squalid room, he uncovers a box containing the Rookie's Guild emblem and another mysterious medal. He picks up the second medal, a strange, glowing artifact that piques his curiosity. He quickly identifies it as the Edgelord title, realizing it's the reason his new identity is a constant target. He deduces the original owner was a weak but tenacious player, using this risky title just to survive. Looking at his reflection, he smirks, realizing this despised title is the perfect disguise to hide his true power. His scheming is cut short as the door bursts open, revealing another hunter has found his location. A hulking, axe-wielding man gloats, accusing the rookie of stealing from him in a past dungeon. The protagonist turns, completely unfazed, and dismisses the brute's accusation with a wave of his hand. He calmly declares that anyone who dares to raise their voice at him will face the consequences. The enraged brute channels lightning into his axe, preparing a devastating attack. He instinctively tries to block the attack with his old powers, forgetting his current limitations. He's struck by the harsh reality that his old godlike skills are completely gone. Relying on pure instinct, he narrowly dodges the axe by sliding backward. The axe violently smashes the floor, barely missing him as he coolly observes the aftermath. His attacker grows frustrated, taunting him for acting like a boss while being just a weak assassin. The brute's taunt triggers a brilliant idea as he remembers his new identity's class. Embracing his new role, he lunges forward, channeling the strange pink energy into a swift attack. He scoffs at a direct fight, expertly sliding under the brute's guard to strike from an unexpected angle. His fight is interrupted by a shout from the doorway, signaling more trouble has arrived. The thugs from the alley reappear, having been led straight back to him by his own frantic pup. He stares in disbelief as the pup, his supposed distraction, returns with the very enemies he tried to avoid. Deciding he has no time for these weaklings, he turns his back on them and heads for the window. He makes a daring escape by crashing through the glass, declaring he's done playing their games. His getaway takes an unexpected turn as a massive dungeon portal rips open right beneath him. He and his pursuers are all helplessly pulled into the swirling vortex of the new dungeon. The entire group plummets into the unknown depths of the mysterious purple void. He lands with a confident smirk, already assessing the situation while his enemies stumble behind him. A colossal, terrifying worm-like monster erupts from the ground, towering over them all. He turns back, a flicker of concern on his face as he recognizes the monster's immense power. Without warning, the creature's maw glows, charging a massive sphere of destructive purple energy. It unleashes a devastating energy beam, sending the other hunters scrambling for their lives. The protagonist, however, sits back coolly, deciding to let this monster teach his pursuers a lesson. His calm is shattered as he's forced into a frantic leap to evade the beam's destructive path. He lands and faces the colossal worm as it smashes its body into the ground, ready for a fight. To his surprise, the monster ignores him completely, firing another blast at the terrified hunters instead. He watches impassively as the energy beam vaporizes one of the thugs who was chasing him. He finally understands that the edgelord title makes him so unremarkable that even monsters overlook him. With a dismissive shrug, he decides to leave the others to their fate, turning his attention back to infiltrating the guild. His escape is cut short as he spots another figure entering the fray. A skilled female warrior with a spear leaps into battle, unleashing a flurry of pink energy. He recognizes her from a photo as the original body's girlfriend, amused that such a weakling had a partner. He quickly corrects himself, deciding she's the original sister and therefore not his problem. His indifference fades as he sees the warrior collapse, completely drained of her strength. The colossal worm looms over her, its gaping maw ready to deliver the final blow. Suddenly recalling a system that rewards heroic acts, he abandons his escape and dashes toward the danger. The monster's massive body crashes down, aiming to crush the helpless warrior. Just in the nick of time, he swoops in, snatching her from the jaws of death for his own gain. Holding her close, he gives a charming wink, playing the part of a hero who arrived just in time. His heroic moment is ruined as the warrior shoves him away, demanding he stay back. He's left utterly bewildered by her ungrateful response, questioning why she'd reject his help. She ignores him completely, leaping back into the fray to deliver a final powerful strike against the worm. A massive arc of pink energy cuts through the air, aimed directly at the monster's head. The warrior lands with poise as the colossal beast collapses behind her, defeated by her skill. He sarcastically applauds, realizing his attempt to play the hero was a complete failure. She looks down on him with contempt, dismissing him as a disgrace to their family. Her insult infuriates him, and he silently fumes that she has no idea of his true power. He realizes her mention of family confirms she's the original body's sister, not his girlfriend. His thoughts are interrupted as the surviving hunters reappear, enraged at being dragged into this high-level dungeon. Blaming him for their near-death experience, the furious hunters advance, ready to finish him off. Completely surrounded by his pursuers, he acknowledges that his escape routes have been cut off. As the brute swings his axe down, the protagonist stares back with an unyielding, almost bored expression. Suddenly, a powerful crescent of pink energy erupts, instantly neutralizing all the attackers around him. He sits unharmed among the fallen thugs, the only one left conscious besides his clueless pup. The source of the attack is revealed as the warrior effortlessly catches her returning, energy-infused spear. Posing with her weapon, she radiates an aura of confidence, having single-handedly ended the confrontation. He brushes himself off, looking over at her with confusion, wondering why she bothered to intervene. She smirks, noting he's not as useless as she thought, and clarifies she only saved him to repay the favor. Declaring their debt settled, he turns to leave, completely ignoring her attempt to get the last word. He throws a childish tantrum, infuriated that someone else stole his kills. A system notification suddenly appears, unlocking a new ability thanks to his sister's sincere protection. The system explains his new Eye of Insight can gauge an enemy's power level by the brightness of their aura. Realizing this is a blessing in disguise, he smirks and decides to test out his powerful new skill. Standing over the defeated thugs, he prepares to activate the Eye of Insight. His eyes glow with a brilliant blue light as he unleashes his newfound perception. His vision shifts, revealing the power levels of everyone around him, from the weak thugs to the S-rank monster. His new sight reveals another figure standing atop the defeated beast, radiating an aura far beyond S-rank. A mysterious man in a dark coat steps forward, his presence so immense it seems to warp the very space around him. The protagonist is forced to shield his face, completely overwhelmed by the blinding power of the newcomer. His new vision cuts through the blinding light, revealing the man's rank as an unprecedented SSS class. The protagonist smirks, recognizing the top-ranked hunter and welcoming this unexpected confrontation. A flashback reveals a bitter memory of this same hunter, using a monster as a pawn to defeat him in a past life. Fueled by past humiliation, he clenches his teeth, vowing to settle the score for this slight against his honor. He boldly steps forward, closing the distance between himself and the overwhelmingly powerful hunter. In a burst of fury, he grabs the SSS rank hunter by the collar, declaring their long-awaited reunion. The hunter's perspective, however, shows him looking down with a surprisingly gentle and affectionate gaze. The intense mood shatters as the hunter pats his head, condescendingly praising him and his sister for their work. Adding insult to injury, the hunter forgets his name, dismissing him as a nameless nobody before turning away. The protagonist watches him go with a cold stare, silently promising that his true identity will soon be revealed. The scene cuts to a grand guild hall where leaders discuss the recent unusual behavior of all nearby dungeons. Inside, a guild leader briefs his members, stressing the importance of teamwork and communication for their survival. A silver-haired man scoffs at the speech, cynically dismissing the idea of camaraderie in their brutal world. His dark thoughts are punctuated by the sudden violent shattering of a glass nearby. A guild member suddenly convulses in agony, his features distorting as he begs for help. A black-haired man grabs the afflicted hunter, demanding to know what is happening to him. The silver-haired villain suddenly appears behind him with a blade, offering a preview of his masterpiece. He cruelly laments that his victim won't get to witness the coming age of demons. With a simple snap of his fingers, the villain signals the beginning of the end. A flurry of deadly energy beams erupts, instantly neutralizing every hunter in the hall. The villain cackles with glee as he holds a blade to a stunned hunter's throat. He throws his head back in a fit of triumphant laughter, savoring his moment of victory. But the scene abruptly cuts, revealing the villain is just an awkward newcomer being mocked by his peers. Humiliated, he sulks in a corner, branded a loner and a noob for his strange behavior. Meanwhile, the guild leader continues his briefing, announcing a new dungeon will appear in 3 days. The silver-haired man glares at the leader, annoyed by his serious attitude and vowing to steal the spotlight. Spotting the leader walking alone down a dark alley, he decides this is the perfect chance to take him out. He leaps from the shadows with his dagger drawn, launching a surprise attack. His plan backfires as he stumbles into a high-tech training room with automated turrets aimed right at him. Unaware of the failed ambush, the guild leader calmly stands in a restroom down the hall. His ambush is thwarted when he finds himself in a bathroom stall, only to be discovered by the guild leader peeking over the door. He flashes back to his vow to defeat the leader, lamenting that his current weakness forces him into such embarrassing situations. Just as he prepares to strike, an urgent announcement declares the new dungeon has appeared ahead of schedule. His grand plan ends with him face-planting on the ground as the guild leader and his team rush past him toward the dungeon. Caught red-handed, he kneels in shock as the guild leader stops and asks if he's been following him. Clenching his fist, he quickly tries to think of a way out of this humiliating predicament. He switches tactics, putting on a dramatic performance and begging to join the leader's dungeon raid. The guild leader remains unmoved, coldly reminding him that his low level makes him a burden to the team. Annoyed by the dismissal, the silver-haired man challenges the leader's judgment, refusing to be underestimated. The leader points out his past failures, but the ambitious newcomer retorts that the leader himself is hitting a wall and needs help. The leader questions his knowledge, but the newcomer reveals his unique ability to identify anyone's skills. He gives a confident wink but internally seethes at the humiliation of having to act subservient. A flashback reveals his past life, where he first tamed this dungeon's beast, making him an expert on its dangers. He recalls standing victoriously over the fully grown monster, vowing to use this familiar territory to eliminate the guild leader. The guild team arrives at the dungeon, a fiery landscape of volcanic rock. Playing the part of a helpful ally, he points out the beast's likely location and promises to analyze it on site. The leader rallies his team, ordering them to stick together and finish the fight quickly. He smirks, secretly plotting to use the volcano's eruption to wipe out the entire guild team. As the team moves forward, one member notices the silver-haired man has broken away from the group. He casually sits behind a rock with his pet, deciding to wait for his former beast to appear and set his plan in motion. He watches the volcano erupt, patiently waiting for the chaos to begin. His quiet wait is interrupted as he's suddenly swarmed by a pack of small, fox-like creatures. The entire guild team finds themselves under attack by the same mysterious horde. Peeking over the rock, he realizes his plan has gone awry, unable to identify his beast among the crowd. He stares up in confusion at the strange fox sitting on his head, which begins to glow with an ominous power. The tiny creature erupts into a colossal 9-tailed beast, crackling with overwhelming energy. With a furious roar, the monster unleashes its power, sending the guild members flying. The beast's rampage continues, its massive form dwarfing the guild leader and his team. Unfazed, the guild leader draws his sword, which begins to radiate a powerful blue aura. He activates a powerful skill, erecting pillars of light to form a defensive barrier against the monster. Meanwhile, the silver-haired man's small pet prepares its own powerful energy attack. The colossal beast shatters the leader's defensive barrier with a single devastating blow. Unflinching, the guild leader parries a deadly energy shard, shielding his comrades from the blast. The monster retaliates by unleashing a storm of crystalline projectiles from its 9 tails. Each projectile impacts with enough force to crystallize the very ground it strikes. The silver-haired man panics, realizing this beast has evolved far beyond what he remembers from his past life. Ignoring the chaos, the guild leader commands his team to hold their ground and not give in to fear. But the beast switches tactics, unleashing a strange new ability surrounded by glowing pink hearts. A guild member is struck by the attack, his expression immediately shifting to one of dazed adoration. The silver-haired man watches as the entire team falls under the monster's charm, rendered completely unable to fight. The guild leader desperately asks for a weakness, but the silver-haired man internally smirks at the beast's true nature. He activates his unique skill, his eyes glowing with power as he begins to analyze the dungeon beast. His ability reveals the monster's staggering power level, a daunting SS+ rank that looms over the guild. The analysis displays the beast's full skill set, including an attack that removes gear and induces extreme cold. He realizes the beast's premature evolution has not only amplified its power, but also crippled the team with its charm skill. Without a word of warning, he immediately turns and flees, scrambling away from the hopeless fight. From the safety of a rock, he shouts that the beast ignores all physical defense, and they must retreat or face annihilation. The guild leader stares back in disbelief, stunned by the dire warning from the supposed noob. He clenches his fist in frustration, recalling the official report that labeled this a mere mid-level dungeon. Resigned to the harsh reality, he makes the grim decision to order a full retreat to save his team. The guild leader roars the order to retreat, leading his team away from the overwhelming threat. He throws up another defensive barrier, buying precious seconds for his team to escape the beast's range. But the monster is relentless, launching another wave of its bizarre, heart-shaped energy blasts. The leader's shield cracks and shatters under the force of the charm-infused projectiles. The beast gathers its power, preparing to unleash a devastating new ability on the cornered leader. Suddenly, a mysterious woman appears, proposing a rather unconventional strategy to defeat the monster. She stands alluringly, and the once colossal beast, now a tiny pup, is completely captivated by her. The guild leader stares in shock as his male teammates, under the monster's influence, begin to disrobe. He demands an explanation from the silver-haired man, only for the woman to reveal the beast's strange weakness. With a confident smirk, the woman decides to use her own charms to give the beast a taste of its own medicine. The mysterious woman proposes a plan. She will distract the beast with her charms while the leader attacks. The guild leader stares back, completely baffled by the unconventional strategy. In a mortifying turn of events, the silver-haired man is forced into a female disguise to act as the real bait. The strategy proves successful as the tiny, love-struck beast leaps eagerly toward the disguised man. The guild leader immediately seizes the opportunity, channeling powerful blue energy for a decisive strike. He unleashes a massive pillar of holy light, aiming to shrink and subdue the creature. Furious, the silver-haired man leaps to intervene, vowing his beast will never become a mere guild mascot. The powerful blast rips through the air, completely shredding his female disguise. The leader's attack misses its target, striking the now exposed silver-haired man and knocking him to the ground. The attack dissipates, leaving the guild leader stumbling back in shock at his critical mistake. The tiny fox beast looks down, its calm demeanor hiding a simmering rage. Its fury reignites, transforming it back into a colossal monster that roars at the two men. The guild leader's resolve hardens while the silver-haired man stares in disbelief at the unfolding chaos. Just as the beast attacks, the guild leader dives in, shielding the silver-haired man from the blast. After the impact, the leader checks on his stunned companion, showing unexpected concern. He then orders the silver-haired man to leave, intending to handle the monstrous threat by himself. However, a system notification reveals the silver-haired man has just unlocked a powerful new teleportation skill. A sly smirk spreads across his face, recognizing this new ability as a game-changer. He confidently stops the guild leader, insisting on another chance to deal with the situation. Striking a dramatic pose, he boldly claims ownership of the beast, leaving the guild leader utterly bewildered. he instantly teleports, appearing directly in the path of the beast's colossal swipe. With another flash of movement, he evades the attack, leaving only a shimmering afterimage in his place. The beast's claw misses, carving a massive trench in the ground as the man leaps clear of the impact. Enraged, the monster turns its crackling, lightning-infused fury upon its elusive target. He twists acrobatically through the air, narrowly avoiding a deadly heart-shaped energy beam. Landing with purpose, his determined reflection appears in the beast's massive, glowing eye. In a stunning display of dominance, he stands directly on the monster's snout, meeting its glare without fear. A single drop of blood falls from his hand, triggering a vision of a happier time with his pet. Fragments of memories flash by, showing the stark contrast between the innocent fox and the raging monster. The blood drop lands on its nose, and the beast telepathically declares that no one will interfere with its evolution. The colossal beast shrinks, transforming into a humanoid fox girl who falls into the silver-haired man's arms. He smirks triumphantly, realizing the now tamed beast has officially accepted him as its master. A system notification confirms his experience has surged, though his player rank remains laughably low. He reflects on his new life, resigned to the slow and tedious path of grinding monsters to level up. He's relieved the beast survived, planning to make her his own even without the blood refinement method from his past. A montage shows him battling monsters with his new companion, realizing this timeline is completely different from his past. He remains certain that despite the changes, he will eventually reunite with his powerful former allies. His strategy is to use his future knowledge to upgrade his skills and gather an army of monsters. He envisions reaching A rank, finally powerful enough to discard his current weak persona. The guild leader snaps him out of his thoughts, shouting in shock at the beast's impossible human transformation. The guild members, still in their underwear, view the transformed beast as a grave threat to humanity. An internal voice urges the silver-haired man to eliminate the fox girl while she's seemingly vulnerable. The guild leader holds his men back, demanding a full explanation for the unbelievable turn of events. The silver-haired man gently reassures the now conscious fox girl, promising that no one will harm her. He confidently declares the beast has been tamed and the dungeon crisis is officially resolved. But the guild leader interrupts, clearly not satisfied with such a simple explanation. He presses for details, demanding to know the exact method used to subdue the powerful monster. The silver-haired man hesitates, trying to formulate a convincing lie on the spot. He grins nervously, realizing his carefully constructed weak persona is about to crumble. He quickly improvises, claiming the leader's attack created a diversion for him to strike the beast's hidden weak point. The guild members loudly protest, pointing out his low rank makes his story impossible and demanding the beast be handed over. The guild leader steps forward, demanding he surrender the fox girl, forcing the silver-haired man to shield her protectively. A defiant smirk spreads across his face as he flatly refuses to comply with the guild leader's order. The guild members prepare to attack, warning that his defiance will be met with violence. He mockingly calls them out, accusing them of trying to steal his spoils now that the monster is no longer a threat. The guild leader tries to de-escalate, urging him not to make things worse and suggesting they can negotiate. As the leader reaches for her, the fox girl snarls defensively, ready to bite his hand. The silver-haired man smacks his hand away with surprising force, creating a flash of light on impact. He scoffs at their talk of rules, accusing them of simply wanting the high-level dungeon's rewards for themselves. Announcing their departure, he takes the fox girl by the hand and turns his back on the stunned guild leader. He walks away with the fox girl, leaving the guild leader and his men to watch in disbelief. The guild members ready their weapons, vowing to stop the fox girl from ever leaving the dungeon. He activates his teleport skill, mocking them as he zips right between the two guards. Suddenly, the guild leader bursts forward with incredible speed, his body wreathed in lightning. His confidence shatters as the guild leader appears before him, grabbing his shoulder with surprising strength. The leader unleashes a powerful attack, swinging a massive energy scythe in a wide arc. He teleports again, narrowly escaping the attack while keeping the fox girl safely in his arms. The guild leader can only watch, inwardly admitting the man's speed is beyond anything he expected. He issues a final ultimatum, declaring he won't be merciful if they try to leave before the fox girl is deemed safe. Sensing the tension, the fox girl snarls and bares her fangs, ready to defend her master from the guild leader. A system notification pops up, revealing the fox girl's loyalty has boosted his sincerity protection value by 4 levels, unlocking her skill module. He grins wickedly, realizing he can harness power from monsters, which gives him the perfect excuse to keep the guild leader busy. Outnumbered by a top-tier guild, he accesses the fox girl's skill module, deciding it's his only way out. He unleashes the White Beast Feather skill, engulfing the guild leader in a sudden, disorienting blizzard. As the icy storm rages, he and the fox girl float gracefully above, watching the guild leader struggle below. The skill manifests as a swarm of small white fox spirits, transforming the ability into a group attack. The fox spirits descend upon the guild members, creating the perfect diversion for his next move. With the guild leader pinned by the spirit swarm, he activates his teleport skill and vanishes in a flash. Reappearing behind the falling guild leader with his face now masked, he prepares to land a disabling blow. With blinding speed, he delivers a precise chop to the guild leader's neck, knocking him out cold. The fox girl suddenly grows to a colossal size, attacking a different guild member with crackling purple energy. The silver-haired man's eyes widen in shock, his entire plan thrown into chaos by this betrayal. The once helpful fox spirits turn on him, swarming his leg and pinning him down. A dark-haired guild member catches the now unconscious fox girl, baffled by the silver-haired man's sudden burst of strength. He then unleashes a sweeping arc of purple energy, sending both the silver-haired man and the fox girl flying. The two crash hard onto the cavern floor, completely overwhelmed by the guild's coordinated assault. He grits his teeth in frustration, admitting he's no match for their numbers and group skills. Suddenly, two mysterious robed figures appear, a support duo he recognizes as a serious threat. A cunning glint appears in his eyes as a desperate new plan begins to form. The robed figures unleash a massive pillar of light, a powerful spatial attack that engulfs the area. He is caught in the overwhelming purple energy, thrown violently into the air by the force of the blast. The robed mages watch in shock, their powerful spell not having the intended effect. In a flash, he closes the distance, grabbing one of the stunned mages by the face to counterattack. He effortlessly flings the robed figure away, sending him crashing into the distance. Landing with a confident smirk, the glowing red gem on his chest pulses with power. His eyes narrow with icy determination as he prepares to continue his assault. He springs back into the air, targeting the dark-haired swordsman with another lightning-fast attack. Both men exchange grim looks, acknowledging that this fight has become dangerously unpredictable. The swordsman braces for impact, his blade crackling with blue energy as he prepares to defend. With a focused glare, the swordsman readies a powerful, lightning-charged counterslash. The swordsman unleashes a barrage of lightning-infused slashes, forcing the silver-haired man onto the defensive. He grimaces, acknowledging that in a direct confrontation, he's completely outmatched by the swordsman's strength. With his teleport skill's time limit ticking down, he knows he must come up with a new plan immediately. The swordsman slowly closes the distance, his glowing blade a clear threat as the silver-haired man shields the fox girl. A tense standoff ensues, the two warriors sizing each other up amidst the lingering dust of their battle. The swordsman questions his motives, but the silver-haired man fires back, accusing the guild of being the aggressors. He mockingly questions their so-called rules, pointing out they're trying to eliminate him after he did all the work. The swordsman remains silent and stoic, his gaze fixed on his defiant opponent. As his guildmates demand retribution, the swordsman raises a hand, silencing their angry shouts. He finally speaks, calmly explaining the guild's protocol for dealing with dungeon breaches like this one. The swordsman lays out his terms. The fox girl can leave, but only after a full guild assessment and 24-hour surveillance. The silver-haired man smirks, readily agreeing to take full responsibility for her. The fox girl looks up at him, touched that her new master is taking her away from the dungeon. They are transported to the grand and imposing guild headquarters for the assessment. A system scan surprisingly reveals the fox girl's power level has plummeted to a mere E rank, baffling everyone. The other guild members mock him, claiming his presence downgraded the once powerful dungeon boss to the weakest rank. With a smug grin, he asks the guild leader if they are finally free to go. The fox girl cheerfully declares her loyalty, proud to be an E rank just like her master. The swordsman dismisses them but remains deeply suspicious, noting his E rank doesn't match his incredible performance. As they walk away, the silver-haired man internally celebrates, ready to finally put his real plan into motion. The suspicious swordsman assigns a C-rank subordinate to shadow both the silver-haired man and the fox girl. The blonde-haired assistant bows, accepting the critical surveillance mission without question. Meanwhile, the silver-haired man and his companion arrive at the official dungeon registration facility. He casually registers for a D-rank dungeon, brushing off the receptionist's concern about him going solo. With a smug grin, he embraces his weakling persona, which conveniently unlocks a new self-mockery skill. Other adventurers scoff, knowing that this particular D-rank dungeon is a death trap even for stronger teams. He tells the annoyed fox girl to ignore the crowd, cryptically stating their ignorance will be their downfall. A confident glint shines in his eyes, knowing he's the only one aware of the dungeon's true nature. The worried receptionist advises him to at least take some healing potions for his dangerous solo run. He dismisses her practical advice, demanding to exchange all of his points for nothing but wine. He casually cashes in all his points for wine, cryptically framing the deadly dungeon run as a vacation. They arrive at the location, a colossal energy-charged tower that looks nothing like a simple D-rank dungeon. Inside, they're immediately accosted by a rival party whose leader tries to poach the fox girl. A quick scan reveals the group's leader is a powerful A-rank, making their presence here a glaring anomaly. The arrogant A-rank continues his pitch, promising the unimpressed fox girl a much faster clear. The silver-haired man coldly dismisses them, having no time to entertain a bunch of arrogant fools. In a blur of purple energy, he activates a blink skill, instantly appearing before the shocked adventurers. He grabs the leader by the face and slams the entire group into the ground with contemptuous ease. The once cocky party is left in a defeated pile, taken out before they could even mount a defense. The fox girl watches in stunned silence, finally getting a glimpse of her master's terrifying true strength. He warns the fox girl that the dungeon's entrance will teleport them to random areas, urging her to stay close. With a comedic flourish, he steps into the swirling vortex, his loyal companion eagerly trailing behind. Inside the portal, a chaotic vortex of energy violently separates them, sending a lone staff tumbling through the void. The fox girl lands hard in a grassy field, knocked unconscious by the turbulent teleportation. She slowly regains consciousness only to find her master already standing over her, having located her immediately. Still groggy from the landing, she asks her master what he's staring at so intently. His expression turns grim as he realizes they've arrived a step too late for something important. They gaze upon a horrifying scene, a field littered with the bodies of adventurers, victims of a brutal slaughter. The sheer scale of the massacre is revealed, with dozens of adventurers cut down across the field. Amidst the carnage, a lone spear-wielding survivor looks up, confused and on guard. A monstrous bird swoops down, snatching a terrified adventurer into the air as his comrades watch in horror. The lightning-wreathed creature unleashes a devastating attack, filling the sky with crackling energy. In the aftermath, the adventurers are left scattered and defeated across the blood-soaked field. After its powerful assault, the monstrous bird appears completely drained and weakened. Suddenly, glowing magical chains erupt from the ground, ensnaring the exhausted creature. The fox girl questions how the adventurers were defeated by such weak monsters, confused by the scene. Her master coldly deduces that someone used a wide-range attack to wipe everyone out for experience. She expresses pity for the creatures, an emotion that seems to surprise her master. A sudden sound cuts through the air, instantly drawing the silver-haired man's attention. Something unseen rustles quickly through the tall grass, signaling an approaching presence. A new party of adventurers prepares to finish off the weakened, magically chained creature. Their impatient leader berates his team for taking so long to clear a simple D-rank dungeon. The leader's rant is cut short as his attention snaps to a sudden noise in the nearby bushes. Hiding in the shadows, the silver-haired man confirms he recognizes the creature, surprising his fox girl companion. He reveals through a flashback that this bird is a precious companion who once saved him from a deadly poison. The memory shows the small, glowing bird gently landing on his skeletal hand to administer a cure. He recalls training the once defenseless creature, turning it into his only combat-capable healing beast. Activating his analysis skill, he sees the party is led by an A rank, making their presence here a complete mystery. Deciding to rescue his companion first, he opens his skill panel to devise a plan against the powerful group. Unaware of the observers, the rival party's leader takes aim, ready to deliver the final blow to the trapped bird. The A-rank leader charges his weapon, eager to finish the fight and move on to the next dungeon. His attack is suddenly blocked by a massive wall of ice, leaving him completely bewildered. The ice spell rapidly expands, freezing the entire party solid in their tracks. The silver-haired man and the fox girl emerge from hiding, with him calmly claiming the dungeon boss for himself. The enraged party leader demands to know who dares to interfere with his guild's operation. The silver-haired man smirks, casually brushing off the question of his identity as irrelevant. He then lunges forward, his fist glowing with power, declaring that they will not take what belongs to him. A magical chain shoots out, ensnaring one of the rival adventurers and yanking him off balance. With his sword drawn and crackling with energy, he reveals that the creature they're hunting is already his. The leader scoffs at his simple gear, dismissing him as a low-rank newbie who doesn't understand the pecking order. The leader smugly lectures him on guild rules, telling him to stay out of their business. The silver-haired man counters, questioning why high-rank players are even in a low-level dungeon. He correctly accuses them of trying to sabotage other guilds by hogging all the resources. The leader seethes with rage, unable to deny the truth of the accusation. In response, one of his enraged party members launches a powerful spear attack. The spear shatters the ice wall, freeing the party from their frozen prison. One of the freed adventurers suggests they stop talking and simply teach the newbie a lesson. The silver-haired man realizes the fox girl's spell won't hold them for long and begins to formulate a new plan. From a nearby tree, a mysterious third party watches the confrontation with amusement, enjoying the leader's predicament. The freed party members begin to advance, ready to overwhelm the duo. With a wicked grin, one of the rival adventurers prepares to strike with his scythe. The scythe comes crashing down with lethal force, but the silver-haired man calmly parries the blow. His companion urges him to be cautious, but he remains focused on the escalating fight. As he engages two foes at once, the fox girl unleashes her own power to even the odds. The two scythe wielders coordinate their attack, their smug expressions showing they believe the fight is already won. Caught in a pincer attack, he masterfully blocks both weapons, one with his sword and the other with a glowing shield. He grips his weapon's shaft, bracing himself against the combined force of his opponents. Gritting his teeth, he channels his own power, refusing to yield an inch to his attackers. He realizes he's at a disadvantage, struggling against the superior power and weaponry of his two foes. The two attackers exchange smug, vicious smirks, relishing their clear advantage in the clash. The silver-haired man gracefully leaps over his two attackers, dodging their coordinated strike. One of the scythe wielders mocks him, calling his flashy moves useless and impractical. They unleash a powerful combined attack, determined to crush him under their superior force. The blow connects, sending him to the ground as he grits his teeth from the impact. The fox girl cries out in concern for her master, but another adventurer blocks her path. Wiping blood from his lip, he reflects on how long it's been since he last felt pain. A dangerous smile forms on his face as the thrill of a real fight awakens his dormant battle lust. He explodes with incredible speed, leaving his opponent stunned as he instantly closes the distance. He smirks at his foe, silently asking if his moves still seem like they're just for show. He knows that despite their higher rank, his unique speed skill gives him the edge in close combat. With a sharp clang, he effortlessly deflects the scythe, his eyes locked on his stunned opponent. The attacker reels in disbelief, realizing it's not that his foe is fast, but that he himself has been inexplicably slowed. A system notification reveals the truth. His own instant movement skill is on a 10-minute cooldown. The silver-haired man smirks, knowing his opponent wasted his trump card just to enter the dungeon. His foe grits his teeth, understanding he's now at a severe disadvantage in this close-quarters fight. Seeing his partner in trouble, the second scythe wielder leaps in, his weapon charged with lightning for a decisive blow. Unfazed by the pincer attack, the silver-haired man calmly assesses the new threat from the corner of his eye. He unleashes a massive burst of energy, blasting both attackers away with a single powerful move. The rival adventurers are sent tumbling through the air, completely caught off guard by his hidden power. From the dust, the mysterious observer from the trees finally emerges, his glowing red eyes fixed on the battle. The silver-haired man looks up, recognizing the newcomer as a formidable figure from his past. The mysterious man asks if he's all right, and he confirms he's still standing after the grueling fight. Drawing his own massive sword, the newcomer furiously accuses the rival guild of violating their alliance treaty. He levels his blade at the recovering adventurers, giving them one last chance to stand down and exit the dungeon. One adventurer recognizes the newcomer as a rival leader, but his partner scoffs, confident they can overwhelm a single opponent. Unfazed, the duo unleashes a devastating combination skill, forming a spiraling dragon of pure energy. Facing the overwhelming attack, he calmly raises his weapon, channeling his own power into a counter move. With a single swing, he unleashes a massive wave of blue energy, bisecting the fiery dragon construct. The powerful counterattack slams into the duo, forcing them to brace their weapons just to survive the impact. Their combined strength proves insufficient, as the wave of energy blasts them backward across the battlefield. Enraged by his defeat, the rival leader commands all his remaining forces to attack at once. The rest of the guild members swarm forward, determined to overwhelm the newcomer with sheer numbers. Observing from the side, the silver-haired man coolly notes that the S-rank newcomer doesn't need his help against these weaker foes. He sees this as the perfect distraction, allowing him to finally go after his real objective. He and the fox girl immediately dash towards the dungeon's true prize, a massive chained beast. The pair lands before the subdued creature, preparing to claim it for themselves. However, two remaining guild members block their path, refusing to let them steal their kill. With a smirk, the silver-haired man instructs his companion to activate a special skill to end this quickly. The fox girl unleashes a powerful charm ability, her alluring aura instantly captivating the two guards. As his opponents stand mesmerized, he seizes the opportunity to speed past them, his plan working perfectly. With the guards neutralized, he moves past them, leaving them to collapse in a daze. He stands over the massive beast, raising his sword to deliver the final strike. With a single, decisive swing, he shatters the thick chains binding the creature. Kneeling beside the freed beast, he attempts to calm it, believing his mission is complete. But the creature's eye snaps open, glowing with a furious crimson light. The massive bird-like beast rises, crackling with untamed energy, its freedom only fueling its rage. He realizes with dread that freeing the beast has triggered a dangerous rampage. The fox girl quickly steps forward, preparing to use her skills to face the enraged creature. A system window reveals the beast's dual nature, capable of both devastating attacks and powerful healing. As the creature unleashes its power, he pulls his companion into a protective embrace, shielding her from the blast. The enraged beast unleashes a storm of energy and feathers, targeting everyone on the battlefield below. The powerful gale sends the S-rank adventurer and the rival guild members scrambling for cover. The silver-haired man recalls that this creature is normally peaceful, concluding it must have been severely provoked. He knows that if he doesn't pacify the beast, its rampage will trap everyone inside the dungeon. In a bold move, he deliberately cuts his own finger on the blade of his sword. He confidently faces the creature, remembering how it was his loyal healing beast in a past life. Seizing the perfect moment, he plants his foot and prepares to launch his counterplan. He leaps directly towards the rampaging beast, reaching out to execute his taming skill. The creature's glowing eye locks onto him, instantly detecting his approach and hostile intent. A system window reveals the beast's dual-state skill, capable of either trapping foes in an air prison or healing allies within a barrier. He finds himself trapped inside the beast's air prison, his weak sword unable to break free. The beast looms over him as the energy cage begins to shrink, threatening to crush him. His allies can only watch in horror, powerless to intervene as he faces certain doom. He grits his teeth, bracing himself against the immense, constricting pressure of the cage. In a desperate gambit, he pulls out a mysterious bottle, hoping to appeal to the creature. He presents the offering, attempting to remind his former partner of their old bond and shared past. As he uncorks the bottle, the beast's furious gaze remains fixed on him and his peace offering. A flicker of recognition appears in the creature's eye, its crimson rage beginning to fade. The taming is a success, as the now docile beast carries him into the sky, leaving everyone below stunned. He stands calmly on the back of his loyal companion, the beast's power now his to command once more. System windows confirm his success, granting him a level-up experience and 2 powerful new items. He smirks, admiring his new spatial ring, already planning how to exploit its storage for future conquests. With a gentle command, he sends his loyal beast into the ring's pocket dimension to rest. Meanwhile, the defeated rival guild leader glares back, swearing vengeance as his forces retreat in shame. Elsewhere, the S-rank adventurer learns his subordinate failed to call for backup, having underestimated the silver-haired man. Overhearing this, he realizes he was being followed, which explains a system anomaly and makes him question if his identity is at risk. Deciding to avoid further complications, he turns to leave the area before his secrets are exposed. His companion calls out, startled by his sudden attempt to flee the scene. But the S-rank adventurer intercepts him, demanding to know how he possessed such intimate knowledge of the dungeon boss. His gaze sharpens as he directly accuses the silver-haired man of hiding a significant secret from him. Faced with the accusation, the silver-haired man simply smirks, unfazed by the intense scrutiny. Suddenly, a portal opens as the S-rank adventurer's reinforcements finally arrive, ready for a fight. The S-rank adventurer waves off his backup, insisting the conflict is over and his focus remains elsewhere. Seeing her master cornered, the fox girl snarls protectively, ready to defend him from the interrogator. The adventurer presses his point, questioning how he knew the beast's weakness before even entering the dungeon. He recalls a report of the silver-haired man holding his own against 2 powerful members of the rival guild. His subordinate confirms that an E-rank adventurer should have been instantly defeated, proving his power is far greater. The silver-haired man realizes with a grin that he'd been secretly observed the entire time, admitting his own carelessness. The adventurer adds another point of suspicion, mentioning his ability to transform monsters into humanoids. Hearing this, the other guild members begin to whisper, wondering if their longtime colleague is secretly a monster in disguise. The S-rank adventurer points his crackling sword at him, demanding he reveal his secrets or face the consequences. Surrounded by powerful foes, he feels a nostalgic thrill, reminiscent of his past life as the Demon King. He acknowledges his current weakness but smirks, knowing a Demon King's true power lies in cunning, not just brute force. He gently places a hand on his companion's shoulder, signaling for her to stand down and let him handle the situation. With a confident grin, he casually announces that he has already leveled up to D rank, much to everyone's surprise. The guild members are stunned by his rapid advancement, further fueling their belief that he is no ordinary human. He begins a condescending explanation, reminding them that everyone in this world was granted a unique talent. He points out that some, like the S-rank adventurer, were blessed with powerful combat-oriented gifts. Then he mockingly presents himself and his E-rank pet as examples of those with seemingly weaker, non-combat talents. He takes a deliberate step forward, rhetorically asking the powerful adventurer what he intends to do with this information. He boldly challenges the S-rank adventurer to a duel, proposing they fight without using any skills. The powerful adventurer is momentarily stunned by the audacious proposal from a lower-ranked individual. The surrounding guild members mock the challenge, certain their S-rank leader could crush him with pure swordsmanship alone. He sweetens the deal, promising to reveal all his secrets if he wins the duel. Intrigued by the offer and confident in his victory, the S-rank adventurer accepts the terms. The silver-haired man's eyes sharpen as the adventurer lunges forward, initiating the fight. The S-rank adventurer unleashes a devastating downward slash, aiming to end the duel instantly. In a stunning display of skill, the silver-haired man parries the powerful blow, their swords meeting with a shower of sparks. The S-rank adventurer's confidence wavers, shocked that his overwhelming attack was perfectly blocked. Despite the successful parry, the silver-haired man feels the immense force, knowing he can't withstand many more hits like that. He reveals his strategy isn't to win with the sword, as onlookers gasp at him, matching their leader's strength. The silver-haired man's eyes burn with intensity, refusing to yield an inch in their blade lock. The adventurer furiously questions his E-rank status, but he coolly asks why a low rank can't possess true skill. With a cunning smirk, he acknowledges the adventurer's talent. Given swordsmanship is indeed impressive. He then contrasts this by invoking a fabricated past of relentless, self-taught sword training. His opponent is visibly confused by this unexpected and passionate declaration. The silver-haired man presses his advantage, accusing the strong of relying solely on their gifted stats. He paints a dramatic picture of his own supposed grueling daily training, wondering if such effort means nothing. The S-rank adventurer is completely thrown, asking if he truly earned all his power through sheer hard work. Feigning anguish, he describes the immense effort he, as a mere E-rank, put into gathering intel to survive. He cries out in anguish, asking if all his supposed hard work only results in being treated like a monster. The S-rank adventurer is left speechless, his conviction completely shattered by the passionate performance. The onlooking guild members murmur amongst themselves, their suspicion turning to sympathy as they realize they may have misjudged him. A subtle, triumphant smirk forms on his lips as he recognizes his psychological victory is complete. He rhetorically asks if human effort is worthless to the gifted, proving the Demon King's greatest weapon is the manipulation of hearts. 3 days later, the scene shifts to the grand headquarters of the Light Saint Guild. His loyal fox-girl companion dotingly offers him refreshments, enjoying a moment of domestic peace. In a strange bit of theater, he playfully asks a doctor for a prognosis on the rival guild leader he defeated. The doctor gravely lists the man's devastating injuries from a medical chart, concluding that they should prepare for the worst. The silver-haired man feigns remorse, claiming the intense atmosphere of their fight made it impossible for him to hold back. He casually dismisses the danger, acting as if surviving a duel with an S-rank was a trivial matter. The doctor reveals the truth. He only survived thanks to the immediate intervention of a powerful healing monster. He explains to his companion that the healing monster exhausted its power, shrinking into a tiny bird. The doctor confirms he'll make a full recovery in a few days, provided he stays out of trouble. The guild leader, now relieved, turns to leave after confirming his subordinate is out of danger. The silver-haired man smiles, internally celebrating that his performance has completely erased their suspicions. Just before exiting, the guild leader pauses, having one final matter to address. He reveals the entire guild sent gifts, now admiring his spirit and apologizing for ever doubting him. The guild leader clarifies that taming monsters, while rare, is not against their rules. He then offers his full support, encouraging him to rely on the guild instead of working alone in the future. He internally scoffs, realizing the guild leader's support is just a veiled warning to keep him on a leash. Back in his room, he celebrates his successful deception, while his jealous companion demands attention for her own usefulness. He examines the new monster's ability, a powerful B-rank passive healing skill perfect for a novice. His celebration is cut short as he notices his core taming skill didn't level up after acquiring the new monster. A quick check of his skill menu confirms his suspicion. The healing bird is not listed among his loyal subjects. He glares menacingly at the tiny bird, questioning if it still harbors disloyal thoughts towards its new master. With a dark aura, he commands his foxgirl to demonstrate to the newcomer what true loyalty entails. The foxgirl begins a rather detailed and flustered explanation of why she serves him, citing his handsome appearance. Completely embarrassed, he lunges forward to cover her mouth, cutting off her inappropriate praise. He leans back in thought, realizing that simply taming a monster doesn't automatically earn its true loyalty. He recalls that in his past life, the bird monster only served him for power after being defeated by humans. He decides to motivate the bird with grand promises of a glorious future once he reclaims his throne. A sudden realization hits him. In this new timeline, the monster's tragic past hasn't happened yet. He deduces that the key to earning the bird's true loyalty is to help it rescue its mate. The task is daunting, as its mate is a powerful A-rank fire monster located in a treacherous dungeon. He dismisses asking the Light Saint Guild for help, knowing their leader would never let him keep such a prize. Gazing down from his balcony, he decides he needs to find some cheap, disposable allies for the mission. His eyes land on a familiar group of people loitering by a car in the courtyard below. He recognizes the dejected members of the rival guild, realizing he must manipulate the situation to his advantage. The scene then cuts to the opulent office of the Light Saint Guild's leader. The Light Saint Guild's leader calmly orders continued surveillance on the silver-haired man. A subordinate questions this decision, dismissing their target as a mere D rank with a bit of luck. The leader's gaze hardens as he demands absolute obedience and a full report on the man's every move. Though confused, the subordinate bows, promising to keep the target completely under watch. A scout bursts in with shocking news. The silver-haired man has been abducted by the rival guild. The guild leader erupts in fury, his composure completely shattered by this brazen act. The scene cuts to the rival guild's headquarters, revealing where the supposed victim was taken. Inside, the rival guild's leader furiously scolds his men for bringing the man back instead of following orders. The silver-haired man, far from a victim, casually mocks the guild's unimpressive headquarters. The enraged leader grabs his subordinate, reminding him they can't afford a war while preparing for a major raid. The subordinate desperately explains that the silver-haired man simply walked up to them and let himself be captured. The protagonist smirks, revealing he knows their secret plan to use a fire monster to obtain a legendary weapon. The rival leader is stunned, demanding to know how he learned of their guild's most guarded secret. He masterfully lies, claiming the Light Saint Guild's leader orchestrated his every move against them from the very beginning. He exposes their desperation, noting their need for a legendary weapon to compete without any S-rank members. The enraged guild members threaten him, demanding he hand over the Wind Beast or face severe consequences. He calmly dismisses their threats, reminding them they don't have time for interrogation since their rival knows everything. He paints a vivid picture of the Light Saint Guild's leader descending upon their headquarters in a righteous fury. The rival guild members pale as he asks if they are truly prepared for an all-out war to crush them. He presents his final offer, stating their only choice is to cooperate with him and claim the weapon before their enemies arrive. He frames the alliance as their only way to gain the power needed to challenge their powerful rival. The rival leader remains deeply suspicious, demanding to know the protagonist's true intentions. He weighs the incredible risk against the potential reward, his expression hardening with contemplation. The silver-haired man casually puts his arms around them, stating their goals are aligned for now, and that's all that matters. He leans in close, reminding the leader that refusing his offer means the complete destruction of his guild. Meanwhile, his foxgirl companion swoons, completely oblivious to the tense negotiations and simply admiring her master. The scene then cuts away to the majestic headquarters of the Light Saint Guild. Inside, a recording plays, showing the protagonist nobly declaring his intent to infiltrate the rival guild as a loyal spy. The Light Saint Guild's leadership watches the fabricated message, completely convinced of his unwavering loyalty. A subordinate explains that this recording was discovered in his room, seemingly left behind just before his abduction. A subordinate passionately explains the protagonist's noble sacrifice to uncover the rival guild's plans. The Light Saint Guild's leader nods solemnly, completely falling for the perfectly crafted lie. Other members are deeply moved, feeling ashamed for ever misjudging their supposedly selfless comrade. Convinced of his loyalty, the enraged leader orders the entire guild to mobilize for battle immediately. He vows to both seize the legendary weapon for the guild and save the life of his devoted member. The guild members look on grimly, imagining the brutal treatment their captured ally is facing. He commands his forces to pinpoint the rival guild's dungeon and prepare for a full-scale rescue operation. The scene shifts to a fiery dungeon, where the rival guild is already fighting their way through hordes of monsters. Their leader frantically urges them forward, desperate to clear the dungeon with maximum speed. A white van is parked ominously at the edge of the chaotic, fiery landscape. Inside the van, the protagonist lounges on a palanquin, ordering the disgruntled guild members to fetch him ice water. He reminds them that he is crucial for defeating the boss, so they'd better keep him comfortable or face failure. Watching the battle from his seat, he inwardly admits the rival guild is surprisingly competent, and he needs them to clear the path. Outside, the rival guild leader commands his troops, pushing them deeper into the dungeon after clearing a wave of enemies. He relaxes, knowing the rival guild is burning through their stamina and supplies just as the Light Saint Guild is on its way. His companion fans him as he plans to let the two guilds clash, creating the perfect chaos for him to make his move. An enraged guild member tries to attack him, but his comrade holds him back, urging patience until after the mission is complete. Suddenly, the hot-headed guild member is struck down, falling hard to the ground. The protagonist watches impassively as the fallen member groans on the floor, his partner frozen in shock. A powerful-looking woman with a spear suddenly appears, asking the protagonist if he's unharmed. The protagonist recognizes his unexpected savior as a powerful woman named Jang-ro. He recalls meeting her only once before in a previous dungeon, after which she completely vanished. He admits he'd almost forgotten her until her genuine desire to protect him activated one of his unique skills. The protagonist realizes she truly believes he was kidnapped and is now trying to rescue him. It dawns on him that she single-handedly attacked the rival guild members to save him from his supposed captors. He is momentarily stunned by this chaotic and completely unforeseen turn of events. The remaining rival guild members turn away from the van, alerted by the sudden assault on their comrades. They furiously accuse the protagonist of orchestrating an ambush, their suspicions of his treachery now confirmed. The enraged guild members surround the small group, ready to eliminate this new threat. Zhang Rao defiantly steps forward, preparing to fight her way through the entire guild to secure his escape. The protagonist desperately clamps a hand over his savior's mouth, trying to pass the situation off as a simple misunderstanding. He internally panics, knowing he needs these captors to clear the dungeon, and can't let his rescuer ruin his plan. Zhang Ru angrily slaps his hand away, demanding to know why he's cooperating with the very people who supposedly kidnapped him. He gives her a mysterious smile, telling her that the full story will have to wait for now. He then turns to the rival guild, declaring that they all share a common enemy in the Light Saint Guild. His rescuer remains unconvinced, questioning the source of his intense animosity towards the Light Saint Guild's leader. A dark flashback reveals his past suffering, showing him vowing to escape the torment of living under his enemy's shadow. Consumed by a purple aura of rage, he clenches his fists, his hatred for the Light Saint Guild's leader reaching its peak. The memory shows the Light Saint Guild's leader standing triumphantly over defeated allies, fueling the protagonist's desire for vengeance. Snapping back to the present, he suddenly strikes a heroic pose, proclaiming his undying loyalty to the very leader he just despised. His sudden declaration of loyalty leaves both his rescuer and his fox companion completely baffled. The rival guild leader seethes, realizing the protagonist's act nearly exposed their entire fragile alliance. Just then, a portal tears open, and the Light Saint Guild forces pour into the dungeon, ready for a fight. The Light Saint Guild's leader, believing his spy is in danger, leads the charge to rescue him from his captors. The two powerful guilds immediately clash, erupting into a chaotic, full-scale battle within the fiery dungeon. Caught in the crossfire, Zhang Ru turns back, furiously demanding to know which side he is truly on. She turns to find he and his companion have vanished, leaving only faint outlines in their place. Elsewhere, the protagonist grimaces, admitting that while the guilds are fighting as planned, the timing and location are completely wrong. He knows he must lure both armies to the dungeon boss's location to seize the ultimate prize for himself. Activating a special skill, he lowers his presence, allowing him and his companion to slip away unnoticed amidst the chaos. Jongru frantically searches for the protagonist, who has reappeared right behind her. The protagonist sighs, annoyed that his stealthy escape plan has been completely ruined. With a sinister grin, he grabs his fox companion, deciding he won't sacrifice anyone else for his goals. He declares he'll borrow his companion's power and leaps directly into the heart of the battle. His foot slams down, unleashing a powerful surge of blue magical energy from the ground. Activating a new skill, he unleashes a massive eternal freeze domain across the battlefield. The rival guild leader stares in disbelief, completely baffled by this sudden overwhelming power. Even Jang Ro is left speechless, stunned by the incredible ability he just displayed. Now the center of attention, his stealth skill deactivates, making him visible to everyone on the frozen battlefield. Realizing a quiet exit is impossible, he decides to make a grand, unmissable entrance instead. He activates a flash step, preparing to move at incredible speed across the battlefield. Soaring through the air, he decides to put on a grand performance for everyone watching below. With a confident smirk, he carries his companion, who seems bewildered by his sudden actions. His companion suddenly points ahead, sensing a powerful and unsettling presence in the distance. He deduces that the source of this overwhelming aura must be the dungeon boss's lair. He recalls that this dungeon holds a legendary flaming sword, a weapon of immense power. He knows this is a Legion-level dungeon, filled with endless monsters that require a massive force to defeat. In his past life, his solitary nature meant he could never participate in such large-scale raids. But this time, he's determined to claim both the boss and its legendary loot for himself. Meanwhile, the Light Saint Guild's leader watches in confusion, completely unaware of the protagonist's true scheme. The Light Saint Guild's leader analyzes the protagonist's aerial maneuver, deeming it incredibly reckless. Furious at the betrayal, the rival guild leader orders his men to shoot the protagonist out of the sky. Their conflict awakens a monstrous, fiery beast from the depths of the dungeon. The enraged dungeon boss immediately unleashes a devastating wave of flaming projectiles. A cataclysmic meteor shower rains down from the sky, targeting the battling guilds below. The unprepared guild members stare up in horror, frozen in shock by the sudden onslaught. The Light Saint Guild's leader urgently warns his forces to evade the deadly long-range attack. Complete chaos erupts as the rival guild members scatter in a desperate attempt to survive. Unfazed by the pandemonium, the protagonist smirks, deciding it's time to summon an ally of his own. He opens his hand to reveal a small, bewildered bird, a comical contrast to the chaos below. The tiny bird unleashes a colossal beam of wind energy, completely overwhelming the boss's fiery projectiles. On the ground, the guild members look around in stunned silence as the chaos of the meteor shower subsides. The rival guild members are baffled, questioning how they survived the devastating attack that never reached them. The Light Saint Guild leader realizes the bird's wind-based power was a perfect elemental counter to the boss's flames. The summoned creature reveals its true form as a massive, majestic beast, creating a powerful shield against the fiery assault. A look of sudden understanding dawns on the Light Saint Guild leader's face as he rises to his feet. He now believes the protagonist flew up not out of recklessness, but to heroically save everyone from the attack. As the protagonist descends on his magnificent mount, the guild leader is filled with admiration for his supposed selflessness. The rival guild is equally confused, wondering why the protagonist would bother saving them, his sworn enemies. The protagonist addresses both armies, announcing their battle has awakened the sub-boss, while his companion cheekily reveals it was all part of his master's plan. As predicted, hordes of fiery monsters begin swarming towards the battlefield from all directions. The protagonist explains that once his mount's shield fades, the guilds will be trapped between the boss and its army. The Light Saint Guild leader tries to rally his terrified members, promising no one will be left behind. The protagonist declares that as a supposedly weak player, he refuses to let anyone be sacrificed. He announces his plan to single-handedly hold off the boss, creating an opening for everyone else. Entrusting his sister's safety to the guilds, he and his mount fly towards the fiery beast. Jongru watches in tearful disbelief, utterly stunned by his seemingly suicidal sacrifice. He reflects on his belief that weakness should never be a reason for abandonment in this world. With a final farewell, he and his companions head into the heart of the danger zone. The rival guild leader refuses to retreat, his pride wounded at the thought of being saved by a supposed rookie. The Light Saint Guild leader extends a hand to his rival, proposing a temporary truce. He declares that he cannot stand by and watch the protagonist sacrifice himself for their sake. The two leaders share a tense look, understanding that cooperation is the only way to minimize their losses. As the protagonist soars away, the rival guild leader reluctantly agrees to the alliance. Meanwhile, the protagonist smirks, knowing that for these guilds, pride is far more valuable than any legendary gear. He orders his mount to speed up, planning to use the guild's attack to lure out every monster in the dungeon. He cheekily promises his mount a date with its mate as a reward for its help. Having successfully reached his destination, he knows the boss will no longer target him and his companion. His fox companion complains about the overwhelming heat, feeling visibly uncomfortable. He reassures her with a gentle pat, explaining they just need to get the mount to the boss to finish their plan. He reflects on his brilliant plan, combining the guild's attack with his own persuasive charm to win over the boss. He imagines a scenario where he tempts the fiery boss, using her mate's safety as the ultimate leverage. The fox companion bares her teeth in disgust, confirming they found the source of the foul aura. The trio stands united, bracing against the overwhelming aura of the Legion-level boss ahead. Standing before the colossal fiery beast, he can't help but be impressed by its intimidating presence. Flashing a disarming smile, he formally introduces himself as the heroic savior of her beloved mate. As his mount flares its wings defensively, he places a reassuring hand on it, signaling it to relax. The fiery winged boss unexpectedly speaks, asking them to leave peacefully as it doesn't wish to harm them. The protagonist is stunned, his plan completely derailed by the boss's unexpected plea for them to retreat. Its plea ignored, the boss's patience snaps, and it erupts in a furious, fiery roar. The protagonist's mount meets the boss's fiery blast head-on, creating a spectacular explosion of power. Undeterred, the majestic bird pushes through the flames, shielding its master and the fox companion from the inferno. Landing safely on the ground, the protagonist is surrounded by crackling energy as he holds his companion. He's utterly baffled, recalling that the two beasts are supposed to be twin demons, not bitter enemies. The two colossal creatures clash again, the mount's shield holding firm against the fiery boss's relentless assault. The fiery beast reveals it's being controlled against its will, shackled by a mysterious, glowing chain. Despite its pleas not to fight, the boss is forced to unleash another wave of flaming projectiles. The protagonist's mount expertly dodges the attack, soaring upwards with a new, determined glint in its eyes. From the ground, the protagonist and his fox companion watch in confusion, questioning the mount's sudden change in tactics. He then realizes his mount is ignoring the boss entirely, focusing all its attacks on the mysterious chain binding it. He connects the dots, the boss's forced attacks, the glowing chain, and its role as a guardian. His gaze follows the rattling chain, leading him straight to the source of the curse. The chain is anchored to a lone sword, plunged into a rock amidst a sea of lava. A system notification flashes, identifying the blade as a coveted piece of legendary equipment. The glowing sword pulses with immense power, its chain binding the fiery beast to its will. He finally understands the boss is a forced guardian, which is why his mount was originally expelled from the dungeon. His mount's true objective becomes clear. It's not fighting its twin, but trying to shatter the chain and set her free. As the majestic bird unleashes its power, he reflects on the tragedy of two fated companions forced into conflict. A greedy smirk spreads across his face as he decides to relieve them of their burden and claim the legendary sword. He commands his fox companion to cover him, and she immediately erects a powerful crystalline shield. With the fox's powerful ice domain creating a path, the protagonist prepares to make his move. He activates a stealth skill, planning to snatch the legendary sword while the boss is distracted. But the fiery beast senses his presence, turning with a furious glare to stop any intruders. It gathers a massive ball of destructive energy in its mouth, preparing to obliterate the path. Unfazed, the protagonist plants his foot on the crystalline bridge, ready to dash forward. He propels himself into the air with a burst of power, narrowly avoiding the ground-level chaos. Activating a protective skill, he smirks, feeling the thrill of a high-stakes battle once again. He channels his energy, forming a sharp, glowing blade between his hands amidst the inferno. With a powerful throw, he launches his energy blade to intercept the boss's incoming attack. Having created an opening, he reaches desperately for the hilt of the legendary sword. The fiery beast lunges with jaws wide, determined to stop him from taking the sword. With a desperate shout, he calls out for his mount to intervene. His loyal mount dives from the sky, unleashing a powerful vortex of wind. The blast of wind slams into the boss, sending the protagonist reeling from the impact. He loses his grip on the sword and tumbles backward, barely avoiding the lava below. Debris from the shattered platform splashes into the molten sea. He lands securely, triumphantly holding the legendary sword he managed to pull free. The glowing blade shines brilliantly, its broken chain signifying the end of its curse. A system notification confirms his acquisition of the legendary weapon as the chain disintegrates. The magical chains binding the boss finally shatter, breaking into pieces. The remnants of the magical chain now coil around his arm, binding him to the legendary blade. A system notification bestows upon him the title of Sword Protector, granting him powerful new abilities. He inspects the sword's impressive stats, noting its immense power and a dangerous life-draining curse. With a smug grin, he deems the weapon worthy of his collection, even by his former Demon King standards. He leaps gracefully from the crumbling platform, landing back on solid ground with his prize. He realizes that by freeing the Guardian, he cleverly bypassed the need for a boss fight to claim the legendary weapon. Now free from its curse, the colossal fiery beast descends to land peacefully before him and his companion. The once furious boss now looks at him with gratitude, acknowledging his role in its liberation. He tests the blade's sharpness on his own hand, reminding himself of the dungeon's true purpose. Placing his bloodied hand on the beast, he declares his intention to claim the S-rank boss for himself. A system window confirms the successful taming of the S-rank fiery beast, detailing its powerful abilities. He notes with a smirk that the mighty beast has been suppressed to D rank, matching his own current level. The once terrifying boss is now a tiny, adorable bird perched harmlessly on his finger. He playfully pinches his fox companion's cheek, questioning why only she took a humanoid form. A system notification announces his True Heart Protection skill has leveled up twice after acquiring the twin beast's loyalty. Scrolling through the upgrades, he discovers he can now sense his guardian's emotions and even combine their powers. His eyes widen as he recognizes the immense potential of this newly unlocked skill. He realizes that all his recent gains, the weapon, the title, the beast, are nothing compared to this new power. The system reveals the ultimate ability unlocked at level 10, the Demon King's Shackles. A wicked grin spreads across his face as he celebrates the return of his core ability from his past life. He laughs maniacally, announcing the end of his weakling phase and the start of his path back to being the Demon King. His celebration is cut short as another party of players rushes up the path, eager to find the boss. Their eyes are set on the prize, determined to slay the boss and claim the legendary equipment for themselves. Reaching the platform, the party is stunned to find no boss, just the lone protagonist and his companion. Their attention zeroes in on the glowing blade he holds, instantly identifying it as the legendary equipment. The players are frozen in shock, realizing the boss is gone and the prize is already in his possession. As the hostile party closes in, his fox companion growls defensively, sensing the imminent threat. The party's leader makes a condescending offer, hand over the sword, and they'll forgive his transgression. He smirks at their blatant attempt at robbery, just as another more righteous-looking guild arrives on the scene. The newly arrived Light Saint Society shoves the others aside, declaring that since he's their member, the sword rightfully belongs to them. The Light Saint Society's leader patronizingly demands he surrender the weapon for the good of the guild. His fox companion grows anxious, overwhelmed by the sheer number of hostile players. Now trapped between two greedy guilds, he's pressured from all sides to give up his prize. A familiar face in the crowd watches with concern, wondering about his true allegiances. He internally scoffs, revealing his original plan was to use the sword to make the guilds fight each other. But with a sly grin, he decides that plan is no longer necessary. His eyes gleam with manic power as he declares he's keeping the sword for himself. The leaders of both guilds are left utterly speechless by his audacious claim. His own guild leader erupts in fury, accusing him of betraying the guild for personal gain. The rival guild's leader issues a veiled threat, warning that a mere D-rank player can't handle such a treasure. He scoffs at their arrogance, deciding they've brought their own demise upon themselves. Spurred by their leader's threat, two assassins from the rival guild rush in for the kill. Suddenly, their attack stops dead as an invisible force paralyzes the lead assassin, who looks on in confusion. A powerful burst of energy sends both attackers hurtling backward through the air. They crash to the ground, instantly defeated, much to the shock of his own guild members. The remaining players from both guilds stare in utter disbelief at his unexpected show of force. With his hair now white, he activates his Demon King's shackles, preparing to unleash his full power. Behind him, the once tiny bird erupts into its true form, a colossal, fiery beast. He grins, ready to remind them all what it feels like to face a real raid boss. The terrified players recognize the creature looming over them as a terrifying, Legion-level boss. The players recoil in horror, realizing the boss is allied with the very player they dismissed as a weakling. The rival guild leader shakes a fearful subordinate, reminding him they came to fight a boss regardless. Spurred on by their leader's command, the combined forces of the guilds charge forward. The fiery beast counters their advance by unleashing a devastating energy beam from its maw. The Light Saint Society's leader desperately orders his tanks to form a defensive line and withstand the blast. The attack proves too powerful, completely overwhelming their front line as their leader forbids any retreat. The other guild leader commands his own members to press the attack and surround the beast. The protagonist watches with amusement, acknowledging that the guilds are at least putting up a decent fight. He smirks with chilling confidence, hinting that this S-rank beast isn't his only surprise. As if on cue, a second, even more demonic S-rank beast begins to materialize, ready to join the fray. The charging players are suddenly engulfed in a freezing aura, stopping them in their tracks. One of the attackers looks down in horror to find his feet completely encased in sharp, unyielding ice. A system window confirms the Fox Companion is now an S-rank beast, unleashed by the Demon King's shackles. The rival guild leader stares in disbelief, questioning how the protagonist's pet can wield its full S-rank strength. He quickly regroups, ordering his lieutenant to help him contain the fox while the others focus on the fire beast. The Light Saint Society's members are overwhelmed by the fiery beast, unable to follow their leader's frantic orders. A player cries out in despair as he notices the fiery beast is rapidly regenerating its health. They then spot a smaller bird applying a defensive shield to the boss, making it even more invulnerable. Amidst the chaos, the protagonist stands calmly, observing the guild's futile struggle with detached amusement. The rival guild leader seethes with pure rage, realizing he has been completely outplayed. The rival guild leader grabs his subordinate, shaking him out of his fearful stupor. He reasons that no matter how strong the pets are, the protagonist himself is still a weak D-rank player. Convinced, his lieutenant lunges forward, believing that taking out the master will end the fight. The protagonist calmly turns his head as a powerful beam of light narrowly misses him. He activates a defensive skill, effortlessly blocking a massive scythe-like attack from above. Mistaking his defense for being trapped, the players rally, seeing an opening to attack him directly. The remaining guild members surge forward, hoping to overwhelm him while he's seemingly immobilized. As they close in, they realize his protective barrier is holding firm against their coordinated assault. With a confident smirk, he reveals he's just getting started by activating a multi-skill module. He calmly conjures a swirling orb of power, preparing to unleash another devastating counterattack. He unleashes an icy domain, instantly freezing the charging players solid in their tracks. He mockingly presents the legendary sword, now glowing with intense fiery power. A system window reveals his new blood boil state, sacrificing health for a massive boost in speed and fire damage. He dares them to try and take the sword, channeling immense power into the blade. Leaping into the air, he swings the sword, unleashing a devastating wave of pure fire across the battlefield. The remaining attackers are completely consumed by the fiery blast, their assault utterly broken. The rival guild leader clenches his fist in pure disbelief, refusing to accept this impossible reality. The other leader grimly acknowledges that the protagonist is somehow controlling 3 pets, including 2 S-rank beasts. A stunning view shows all 3 of his companions fighting at their full, unleashed potential. As the protagonist stands calmly amidst the chaos, a player questions if he's truly the weakling they once knew. He savors the look of utter shock and disbelief on the rival leader's face. A wave of pure, unadulterated fear washes over the remaining guild members. From the leader's perspective, the protagonist stands as an untouchable god among his monstrous pets. Finally breaking, the rival guild leader screams for his entire legion to retreat immediately. The sudden order to flee leaves the protagonist's own guild members completely bewildered. In contrast, the Light Saint Society's leader glares with cold, calculating hostility. The rival guild scatters in a panic, their members branding the protagonist a monster as they run for their lives. Fueled by deep-seated hatred, the other guild leader takes a defiant step forward. The protagonist feels a familiar thrill as dark energy swirls around his waiting blade. He reveals his true nature, a split image of man and demon, relishing his role as the Demon King. The ice fox unleashes a vicious snarl, its razor-sharp teeth promising a chilling end to any who remain. Its fiery counterpart roars in unison, a blazing maelstrom ready to turn the battlefield to ash. The rival guild members scatter in absolute terror, their panicked retreat shadowed by the small support bird. Amidst the chaos, the protagonist's own guild members spot him, their expressions a mix of awe and confusion. His female companion looks on, completely stunned by the impossible power he has just unleashed. The protagonist stands calmly with his 2 allies, their united front facing the last remaining guild leader. His blonde subordinate smirks, impressed by the overwhelming display that single-handedly routed their enemies. The Light Saint Society's leader, however, stares with grim realization, sensing the protagonist is no longer the man he once was. A massive, sinister aura suddenly erupts from the defiant leader, revealing a hidden dark power of his own. He transforms completely, his hair turning stark white as he taps into a forbidden, demonic energy. A system window pops up, revealing a new ability derived from his companion, leaving him momentarily puzzled. The system explains his new pseudo-monster state, a result of his monster companions tipping the scales of his nature. A critical warning flashes. Fully embracing this path will make him a true monster and an enemy to all humans. Dark energy corrupts his hand, transforming his fingers into razor-sharp demonic claws. He recalls his past life, where using the Demon King's shackles turned him into a fearsome armored entity. He realizes a special protection is keeping him from fully transforming this time, though his human appearance is fading. With a confident smirk, he scoffs at the idea of becoming an enemy to a world that never accepted him. A painful memory surfaces, showing him as a child being abused, revealing the roots of his detachment. Another flashback shows him as a teen, beaten and abandoned, reinforcing that humanity never stood with him. The final memory shows him being betrayed and used as bait by other players, solidifying his distrust. A final memory shows him utterly broken and left for dead on the cold ground. Looking up from the dirt, his eyes burn with a cold, unforgiving hatred for his betrayers. He recalls a moment when a monstrous beast was the only creature that stood by him. Back in the present, he decides that the loyalty of his monsters is all he'll ever need. He fully embraces his new path, declaring that he doesn't care if he becomes a monster. Seeing this transformation, the Light Saint Society's leader makes a swift decision and orders a full retreat. He commands his guild to rally all other major guilds for a crusade against the protagonist, now branded a monster. The protagonist scoffs, mocking himself for ever thinking he could play nice with humans after his rebirth. He watches the leader help his subordinate, convinced that all promises of protection are ultimately meaningless. Activating his pseudo-monster state, he raises his blade, ready to put an end to the charade and fight on his own terms. He vows to turn the world upside down once more, swinging his blade with monstrous intent. The fiery attack surges towards the defiant guild leader, who stands his ground. The leader counters, raising his own glowing blade to parry the devastating blow. Their powers clash in a spectacular explosion of fire and light, a final standoff. With eyes blazing with energy, the rival leader focuses all his might into his defense. Having successfully blocked the attack, the leader makes a tactical decision to withdraw. He turns his back and walks toward the escape portals his guild is using to flee. The protagonist laments that his current power level is too low to stop the leader from escaping. Recalling his powerful beasts, he accepts his new life path, one he knew well in his past. A system notification reveals his monstrous state can be deactivated by sincerely protecting his allies. He's puzzled as the dark energy surrounding him begins to dissipate on its own. A close-up reveals his eyes are reverting from demonic purple back to their original blue. His female companion rushes to his side, urging him to escape before their enemies seal the dungeon. He angrily questions why she didn't retreat, warning her to stay away from the monster he's become. She defiantly refuses, declaring she would never abandon him in such a dire situation. Her unwavering loyalty leaves him completely stunned and at a loss for words. She grabs his hand, calling him family, which causes a system notification to confirm her absolute devotion. Having successfully escaped the dungeon, they arrive safely back at their apartment. Inside, his cat-like companion stretches languidly on the bed after a tiring battle. The protagonist sits nearby, quietly examining his reflection in a mirror, checking for any remaining monstrous traits. He realizes that with his monster state deactivated, the cold, murderous urges have vanished completely. He wonders if his ruthless personality as the Demon King in his past life was also just a side effect of his powers. He concludes that the sincere protection of his allies is the only thing keeping his humanity intact this time. He understands that while his monsters grant him immense power, there's another side to the equation. Only the loyalty of his human companions can balance the corrupting influence of the Demon King's shackles. He's suddenly pulled from his thoughts by his companion's intense, unwavering stare. She leans in and pinches his cheek, skeptically questioning if he's truly the same person. She explains that his terrifying presence in the dungeon was nothing like the man she thought she knew. In her mind, he's always been a timid, weak, and somewhat useless pretty boy. Mortified, he realizes his companion's low opinion of him stems from the pathetic reputation of his body's original owner. She smirks, admitting that only a naive fool like him would blindly follow her out of the dungeon. Overwhelmed by her words, he's pulled into a sudden warm embrace as she welcomes him home. Pushing him back, she questions him about the dangers he mentioned when they were escaping. Her playful mood vanishes as she reminds him he just antagonized two of the world's most powerful guilds. She explains that the Light Saint Society is already rallying other guilds for a massive crusade against him. Worried for his safety, she suggests seeking refuge with her family, hoping they can offer protection. He calmly stands up, interrupting her panicked plan to ask if she's misunderstood something. He clarifies that the guilds are hunting the powerful Demon King they encountered in the dungeon. With a devious grin, he asks what that hunt has to do with a weak D-rank player like himself. Meanwhile, at the Light Saint Society headquarters, the major guilds begin to assemble for their crusade. The guild leader orders his subordinates to tally their losses and prepare for a war council. He commands them to investigate the protagonist's background, seeking the source of his abrupt power surge. The leader then visits the hospital, where he finds a familiar white-haired man cheerfully peeling an apple. He and his companion stare in disbelief, recognizing the man in the bed as the protagonist they just fought. In a flash, the patient grabs his peeling knife, his posture shifting from harmless to hostile. The guild members instantly draw their weapons, surrounding the bed and demanding he stand down. The man awkwardly offers them the apple, trying to defuse the tense standoff with a nervous grin. Unmoved, the furious leader demands to know how he dared to show his face here again. The white-haired man plays dumb, innocently claiming he has been in the hospital the entire time. The leader's eyes narrow, completely baffled by this impossible alibi and the man's convincing act. He weaves a tale of suddenly feeling drowsy and passing out while recovering in his room. He continues his story, describing a dream where he floated in a dark void until their arrival woke him. The guild leader and his subordinate are enraged, refusing to believe such a blatant and convenient lie. However, the rival leader stops his ally, a sudden realization dawning on him about the protagonist's description. He recalls a report on the Faceless Phantom, an S-class monster that can induce sleep and perfectly mimic its victims. The existence of this monster is top-secret information, something a low-ranker like the protagonist should never know. The guild members connect the dots, theorizing that the Demon King they fought was actually the Phantom in disguise. The rival leader concludes the monster's goal was assassination and marvels at its terrifying ability to even copy the protagonist's beasts. As they spiral into panic, the rival leader raises a hand, about to interject with his own thoughts. The protagonist smirks, playing the victim and apologizing for being so weak that a monster used him as a pawn. He formally addresses the guild leader, ready to make a serious request. He bows respectfully, announcing his intention to withdraw from the Light Saint Society. He internally reasons that leaving the guild is the only way to use his full power, without blowing his cover. The guild leader furiously rejects his request without a moment's hesitation. He counters with a surprising proposal for the protagonist to join the elite joint task force representing their guild. This unexpected counteroffer leaves the protagonist completely dumbfounded. The leader explains that a game has invaded reality, spawning new dungeons that require elite teams to explore. These elite squads venture into uncharted territory to map dungeons and neutralize major threats ahead of time. He reveals that this elite group, comprised of the world's strongest, is the Joint Task Force. The emblem of this powerful alliance shines, symbolizing the pinnacle of player cooperation. It's explained that only the absolute elite, the strongest of the strong, are ever invited to join. Later, in an equipment room, the protagonist leans against a wall, contemplating the guild leader's offer. He crosses his arms, questioning the true motive behind inviting a weakling like him into such a powerful group. A voice from a nearby changing room tells him it's a great opportunity as someone steps out. His white-haired companion emerges, highlighting the incredible benefits and special privileges that members receive. His other companion, a pink-haired girl, worries that he won't be able to use his full power with so many eyes on him. He sighs in frustration, realizing his plan to conquer dungeons alone has been completely ruined. The guild leader then appears, using the Faceless Phantom threat to blackmail him into joining for his own safety. His two companions present themselves in their new outfits, awaiting their master's command. He casually walks away with them, deciding to play along while lamenting the poor quality of gear available on the market. Just as he tries to leave, his companion grabs his arm, insisting he try on his new outfit too. He complains about the terrible stats of the clothes, arguing that the best gear comes from dungeons. His companions counter that appearance is everything, as his public image now matters more than a celebrity's. He sweats, admitting he never cared about his looks while living among monsters in his past life. He recalls his old self, a monstrous figure who only cared about stats, wearing whatever mismatched gear was strongest. Despite looking incredibly sharp in his new attire, he internally dismisses the stylish clothes as useless junk. He throws a childish tantrum, refusing to wear the outfit and associate with the task force's show-offs. An imposing figure suddenly interrupts their argument, telling them to stop their bickering. An arrogant man scolds him for his attitude, questioning if a nobody like him is worthy of the joint task force. The man lectures him in front of everyone, declaring the task force members are heroes who shouldn't be mocked. The protagonist's companion fires back, defending their private conversation from the stranger's insults. The man scoffs, stating that the task force's most basic requirement is an S-rank talent, implying the protagonist is unworthy. He disrespectfully pokes the protagonist in the chest, while the pink-haired companion glares at his audacity. The protagonist coldly warns the man to remove his hand, his companion seething with anger beside him. The arrogant man sneers, convinced that even with connections, a weakling like him would fail the internal assessment. Playing dumb, the protagonist innocently asks about this supposed internal assessment. The man then tries to poach his companions, bragging about his connections, and an invitation to an exclusive party. As the man reveals his true intentions, the protagonist watches his companions react with a mix of confusion and disgust. The arrogant man leans in close, delivering a smug threat to the unbothered protagonist. The protagonist's fist, crackling with energy, slams into the man's face, cutting his lecture short. The force of the blow sends the arrogant man flying across the room, crashing hard against the far wall. The protagonist stands his ground, the floor beneath him cracking from the sheer power he just unleashed. The shockwave from the punch sends the man's lackeys tumbling through the air like bowling pins. He grabs the dazed man by the collar, ice crystals forming around his hand as the man sputters in disbelief. Leaning in close, the protagonist informs the man that his curiosity about the internal assessment is the only thing keeping him breathing. He then makes a chilling proposition, demanding an invitation to the exclusive party as compensation. Elsewhere, a swirling dark portal materializes on the side of a modern building, crackling with ominous energy. A cloaked figure is violently thrown out of the portal, collapsing onto the pavement below. Before the figure can recover, they are struck by multiple blasts of energy from behind. A polished shoe steps forward as a spent bullet casing clatters to the ground, revealing the attacker. A powerful woman with a glowing gun stands over the fallen figure, identified as an S-rank member of the Joint Task Force. The injured, purple-haired girl glares up from the ground, her eyes filled with defiance. The task force member takes aim, her energy-infused weapon prepared to deliver the final blow. Just as she's about to act, her phone buzzes, interrupting the critical moment. She answers with clear annoyance, being reminded of an important party she's missing. While distracted, a monstrous beast with a gaping maw lunges at her from the shadows. Unfazed, she casually fires her weapon behind her back without even turning to look. The beast is riddled with energy shots as she calmly promises to arrive at the party in 5 minutes. Hearing the commotion, the caller questions the noise, but she coolly hangs up, revising her ETA to 10 minutes. The person on the other end, sitting in a car, reacts with frustration as the call abruptly ends. In a car, a man complains about his colleague's lack of concern for their public image at a press event. His companion casually defends their absent teammate before getting distracted by her fluffy cat. A third member, looking stern, decides they can't wait any longer and must proceed without her. A limousine pulls up to a red carpet, where a massive crowd eagerly anticipates the arrival of the raid team members. From a separate car, one of the protagonist's masked companions silently observes the spectacle. An S-rank paladin named Yada is the first to emerge, immediately facing questions about a recent mission failure. He's followed by Aisha, the second seat, who charms the press while holding her cat. The man from the car, Jinyu Cheng, puts on a dazzling smile for his adoring fans, soaking up the spotlight. The extravagant event is in full swing as the high-ranking members make their grand entrance. Watching from a rooftop, the protagonist and his companions look down on the scene with disdain for the show-offs. His companion considers the political maneuvering needed to get him into the task force, knowing Yada will make a public play. The protagonist internally fumes, realizing a direct confrontation would ruin his chances of joining the team. He begrudgingly accepts that causing a scene would tarnish his reputation and hinder his long-term goals. Deciding on a new strategy, he resolves to infiltrate the venue and uncover the details of the internal assessment. More importantly, he needs to understand why the paladin, Yada, is so fixated on recruiting him. He observes the party entrance, noting the heavy security makes a simple infiltration impossible for an uninvited guest. The protagonist effortlessly relieves the terrified man he just defeated of his exclusive party invitation. With a sinister grin, he activates a demonic skill to ensure the man's complete and utter cooperation. He casually flicks a small, unique flame from his fingertip, sending it flying towards an unseen location. Peeking from a corner, a cloaked girl with purple hair recognizes the distinctive fire with a look of shock. His cat-eared companion cries out in alarm, sensing an unseen danger. A menacing shadow with glowing red eyes materializes directly behind the unfazed protagonist. He turns his head slightly, his sharp eyes detecting the sudden presence. Suddenly, the cloaked girl lunges at him, desperately clinging to him for protection. The protagonist is left utterly baffled by this unexpected and bizarre turn of events. A system notification pops up announcing he's acquired an S-rank demon and a new skill. He smirks, questioning if his own charm is so great it attracts S-rank demons, much to his companion's annoyance. A critical system alert flashes, warning that a delicate balance has been shattered, triggering a demonic activation. A sinister purple mark spreads across his face as he realizes in horror that his carefully constructed balance is collapsing. Just then, a heavy boot slams down in front of them, revealing an imposing new figure has arrived on the scene. The newly arrived agent sizes up the scene, surprised to find 2 demonic targets instead of 1. The protagonist immediately identifies the woman as Ruir, a formidable S-rank member of the raid team. Deciding to be efficient, Ruir takes aim with her glowing gun, intending to eliminate them both. His cat-eared companion leaps forward, creating a massive ice wall and vowing to protect her master. Ruir remains utterly unimpressed, her weapon still pointed forward with cold determination. She scoffs at the defensive measure, questioning if such a barrier could possibly stop her. Without waiting for an answer, she unleashes a rapid volley of powerful energy blasts. The ice wall shatters completely, sending the cat-eared companion flying backward from the force. The protagonist's eyes narrow with fury as he witnesses his companion being overpowered. He instantly activates a skill, enveloping them both in a swirling shield of protective energy. The powerful energy blasts slam harmlessly against his newly formed shield. Ruir smirks, unimpressed by his defensive magic and questioning how long it can possibly hold. Standing tall, the protagonist shields his companions, prompting Ruir to wonder about the identity of this powerful demon's master. Realizing the gravity of the situation, he activates his Eye of Insight to analyze his formidable opponent. His enhanced vision reveals Ruir's S-rank talent, the ability to create invisible energy channels for her attacks. He sees countless channels locking onto him, ensuring her bullets will find their mark from any angle. He grimaces, frustrated that after avoiding one S-rank hunter, he's now targeted by another while in his demonic form. Glancing at the demon girl clinging to him, he suspects she's intentionally causing him trouble as she begs for his protection. To make matters worse, the man he took the invitation from recognizes Ruir and tries to get her attention. Ruir questions the man's presence, creating a new crisis for the protagonist. If his identity is revealed, he's finished. In a brilliant act of deception, the protagonist kneels before the terrified man, calling him master to confuse the S-rank agent. He orders his cat-eared companion to escort their master to safety, preparing to face the formidable hunter alone. The man, now the unwilling centerpiece of this drama, stares in pure, unadulterated confusion. His loyal companion smirks, grabbing the bewildered man to make a swift getaway. Ruir sees through the ruse, firing her weapon and vowing that no one will escape her sight. The cat-eared girl leaps into the air, dragging the screaming man along as they dodge the incoming blast. The protagonist stands his ground, his blade glowing as he prepares to parry the powerful energy shot. With incredible speed and precision, he cleanly slices the energy bullet in half. He stands unfazed as the attack dissipates, coolly noting the predictable nature of her projectiles. Ruir is stunned, watching as her supposedly unstoppable attack is effortlessly neutralized. With a menacing grin, he vows that as long as he stands, no harm will come to his master. Meanwhile, his companion makes a bizarre escape, riding a giant fish and dragging the terrified man away from the pursuing agent. The purple-haired demon girl steps forward, offering to join the fight despite her injuries. A system window reveals her S-rank abilities, including shape-shifting and mimicking the powers of others. He coldly dismisses her offer, noting her wounds, while internally realizing this chaos is a golden opportunity. He plans to use this fight to permanently clear his human identity of suspicion, activating the demon's shadow form skill. Ruir identifies him as another shape-shifting demon, activating her own body reinforcement abilities in response. His hand transforms into a shadowy claw as he channels immense fiery energy into his blade. Now cloaked in darkness, he takes his stance, determined to win this battle at all costs. Elsewhere, a powerful woman at the party observes the unfolding events, pondering the protagonist's potential for greatness. The powerful woman recalls his past expression, vowing he'll never look that way again. She remembers his past self, defined by cold indifference and profound loneliness. With renewed determination, she resolves to persuade the protagonist, Jiang Yuan, to join her. The scene shifts back to the intense battle, a blur of fiery sword strikes filling the air. He channels his demonic power, igniting his sword with a blazing inferno. The cloaked demon gracefully evades, using the force of the clash to leap backward. The S-rank agent retaliates instantly, firing a rapid succession of powerful blue energy blasts. Using his enhanced perception, he effortlessly weaves through the incoming projectiles. With a flash of his glowing red eye, he raises his sword to parry the last of the energy blasts. Seeing her ranged attacks fail, Ruier leaps into the air, closing the gap for a direct confrontation. Ruier descends from above, her blade crackling with energy as she prepares for a finishing blow. The cloaked demon meets her attack head-on, his own sword clashing with hers in a blinding flash. He activates a dangerous skill, sacrificing his life force to dramatically boost his speed and flame power. Ruier is taken aback as she struggles to block his newly empowered, ferocious, fiery assault. Their combined power erupts in a massive explosion, shaking the very ground they fight on. The scene shifts to a high-level meeting where a man named Yada proposes recommending Jiang Yuan for the elite joint strategy group. The group's second seat, a young girl named Aili, expresses skepticism, questioning the choice while looking at Jiang Yuan's file. Even the eighth seat, a small creature named Rongrong, scoffs at the idea, deeming the candidate completely weak. The 10th seat, an imposing armored man, asks Yada if this unusual recommendation is based on his unique ability. Yada, the 4th seat, confirms their suspicions, revealing his S-rank God's Revelation ability has sensed something extraordinary about Jiang Yuan. Yada reveals his precognition has marked Jiang Yuan as a key figure who will shape the world's destiny. The 9th seat, Jin Yucheng, dismisses this, suggesting they simply monitor the D-ranker to protect their public image. Yada counters, explaining his second, more ominous reason: he recently encountered a true monster. Their strategic meeting is violently interrupted as a massive explosion shakes the entire building. The small creature, Rongrong, is startled by the sudden and intense commotion from outside. Far below, civilians look up in shock, realizing a high-stakes battle is unfolding on the upper floors. The scene returns to the fight, where the protagonist's fiery aura clashes with Ruier's powerful energy. With glowing red eyes, he continues to analyze her S-rank ability, understanding the depth of her energy channel power. He watches as she channels that energy directly into her knife, preparing for a supercharged attack. Ruta reveals the true horror of her ability. She can integrate the channels into her own body, enhancing her physical functions to an extreme degree. Ruier smirks, taunting the cloaked demon about his seemingly limited power. He coolly replies that he was merely toying with her, all while assessing the difficulty of his current form. He glances up, noticing the high-ranking members of the joint strategy group observing from above. The protagonist notes with satisfaction that his intended audience has finally arrived. The group members recognize the cloaked figure's build, connecting him to Jiang Yuan despite his demonic appearance. Yada confirms their suspicions, revealing this display of power is the second reason for his recommendation. With his audience in place, the protagonist decides to end the fight, activating a new set of powerful skills. Sensing the shift in power, Ruier prepares to get serious as well, her gun glowing with energy. He unleashes a devastating new attack, a swirling vortex of fire and wind. In response, Ruier instantly forms a complex energy shield, manipulating her internal power to create a defense. He leaps through the air, declaring that the time for games has officially ended. Ruier stares in disbelief, shocked by the sudden and overwhelming surge in his power. She finds herself completely overwhelmed as his fiery assault shatters her energy defenses. With a glowing red eye, the protagonist activates a new skill, modifying his wind-based abilities. He dives towards her, now cloaked in a swirling vortex of wind, preparing to deliver the final strike. His flaming sword spins in a deadly dance of fire and wind, aimed directly at the downed agent. Watching from above, Yada's expression turns grim as he realizes he must step in. Yada suddenly appears on the battlefield, unleashing a powerful light-based slash to intercept the attack. The cloaked figure effortlessly deflects the high-ranking official's strike, sending Ruier stumbling back. Yada stands protectively in front of the injured agent, ordering her to retreat from the battle. He watches calmly as Ruier makes her escape in a flash of pink, teleporting away from the fight. The protagonist looks down, surprised to find the cold floor has transformed into a soft, patterned rug. The entire battlefield has shifted into a whimsical, toy-filled dimension, trapping him with the other high rankers. Aili, the second seat, sits amidst the strange scenery, offering a cryptic welcome to their domain. His glowing red eye locks onto the armored 10th seat, who readies his weapon for another round. Yada, accompanied by the small creature Rongrong, confidently steps forward to address the cloaked intruder. The protagonist finds himself surrounded by 5 elite members of the Joint Strategy Group, all poised to strike. With a wry smile, he decides that's enough excitement for one day, preparing to make his exit. Yada aims his glowing weapon, challenging the notion that the cloaked figure can simply walk away. The small creature, Rongrong, suddenly senses a powerful fiery energy signature from a portal opening behind him. The portal reveals the true mastermind, a man with intense red eyes who names a Legion-level dungeon. The cloaked protagonist issues a chilling ultimatum, threatening to unleash a city-destroying boss if they interfere. The armored 10th seat scoffs at the demon's tactic, calling him despicable for threatening innocents. With a final taunt and a wave, the protagonist vanishes into a column of fire, promising they'll meet again. He disappears completely, leaving only a scorched mark on the floor as the frustrated group watches him escape. The whimsical dimension fades, and Yada immediately turns his attention to the now-returned Ruir. Ruir explains her injuries are already being mended by her own power, though a full recovery will take time. Rongrong scolds her for her recklessness, reminding her that as the team's medic, she shouldn't be fighting alone. Ruir dismisses the warning, blaming the demon's cunning tactics and vowing to defeat him next time. Aili asks Yada for confirmation, and he reveals the demon's true identity and the S-rank power he wields. Yada explains that if the demon is this powerful, the real Zhang Yuan's potential is just as immense. Aili finally understands Yada's unwavering insistence on recruiting the young man. Ruir questions if Zhang Yuan could be the demon, but Yada dismisses the possibility based on his history. He adds that he was observing the situation carefully from the rooftop during the entire fight. The scene cuts to the real Zhang Yuan, being led through a crowd by a mysterious woman. He glances back at the tower where the battle raged, urging his companion to hurry. His companion is utterly bewildered, questioning how he could have been up there just moments ago. Zhang Yuan explains that the temporary dungeon entrance created by the Flame Phoenix is now closed. He declares they must find a natural entrance to the Purgatory Mountain dungeon as a purple aura surrounds him. A small, cloaked familiar suddenly appears, informing the woman that their master is waiting for her inside.